everyone, it's Shannon from StampendouslyShannon. I'm just coming today to show you how to make this cute little Maltesers Valentine's Day gift pouch. So it just tucks in just like that. It's a matchbook style treat covering. And now these would work with Whoppers as well, but these are the UK or Canadian version of Whoppers, and they're called Maltesers, and they are basically like malted milk balls and malted milkshakes. So I thought that went super cute together. So we are going to go ahead and get started to make this. So our first step is going to be, we're going to make the cute little ice cream that we have on the front there. So we're just going to use a piece of basic white, and I just have a big old piece of that. And we have several different stamps that we're going to use today. So we have our little straw. We also have our little cherry. And I think that's it for now. I know we have a couple more that will be around for the rest of the project. So we're going to use those hearts, and then we're going to use the Be My Valentine sentiment. But for right now, let's just get all of these rolling. So go ahead and get our items here. So we're going to do our ice cream in Sweet Sorbet. And we'll stamp him right up here. And these have dies, and that's what we're going to be using today to cut them out. So I don't need to worry. I do need to worry a little bit about my spacing, but I don't need to worry too much because it's not like we have a punch or anything. We can run it through and then run it through again if we need to. So we'll do that. And then we are done with the Sweet Sorbet for now. So let's go ahead and wipe off our stamps. I'm just using the chamois. And I store mine inside of an empty stamp case. And Stampin' Up! Does sell those empty stamp cases, and it makes it really, really easy to make sure that your stamp case is, or that your chamois is kind of tucked away and it doesn't get all your projects wet. Because that's what happened originally, was mine was getting so soaked. Okay, so then we'll do this. Now for this project, or the frosted glass, we're actually going to do two-step stamping. So the first step is going to be, we're going to use Pool Party, and we are going to make two of these. We're going to stamp one, and we're going to stamp, let me get another little scrap here. Well, okay, we'll just do it on the edge here then. We're going to stamp off, and then we're going to stamp again, right? So that's the first, and you can see the very faint outline. You can actually see it better in the camera than you can in person. So this is the full strength version of the ink, and then we have one that has just been stamped off once. So next, what we're going to do is we're going to take this little piece that lays on top of our glass to give it that dimension. And we are just going to stamp that up, and this is going to be in full strength. So we're just going to line it up as best we can. It's really okay if it's not perfect because it's a glass, and so there we have it. So now this is in Pool Party. You could also do it in Balmy Blue, which is the color of paper that we used for our little project, but I liked it in the Pool Party. I thought it was still a really pretty color, and it still meshed really well. And then lastly, we're going to do our little striped straw, also in Pool Party. And now we're just going to cut all those things out using our dies. And hopefully we can get it all through in once, but we will see. So I am using the mini cut and emboss today in order to cut these out, which makes it a little bit easier because it's just one tiny little unit. It's not, the big one is a lot heavier. This one is so very light, and that's why I love to use this one. But it's the same process as the big one. So we're just gonna make sure, oh yes, it does fit, hooray. Okay, I thought maybe it'd be a little too big, but I think we're okay. And then we're gonna get out our dies. So we have, let's see, oh, these are the wrong ones. Oh, here they are. You can prepare, and you'll still lose things on your desk, I feel. So we're going to cut out our milkshake glass. And we might have to do him at a different time, actually, because he's kind of hanging off there. And we're going to use our ice cream. And that you can see this little cut line right here. It's going to cut our little slot for our straw, which is great, because that'll make it a lot easier to try to squeeze that straw in. And I think we can get the cherry and the straw in on this one. There's the cherry and then the straw. Now these are kind of, both of these are really kind of fiddly dies. So if you need to, just use a Post-it and kind of tape them down to the page. I'm just going to try to do it without today. Oh, maybe not. Let's see. I may have to get out a Post-it. There we go. Okay, let's try again. If it doesn't work, we'll do a third time. Yep, okay, so we'll do a Post-it note then. Dang it, I tried. Okay. So, let's get out, or you know what, we can just use some washi since it's right here. And this is Valentine's Day themed washi, so that'll be perfect. So for the washi, and you can obviously reuse this washi too, right? So, you know, put it down and then make it a long enough piece that you could reuse it too. And then last but not least, get our little straw in here too. Just because the cherry and the little straw are so fiddly, it just makes sense. If the straw's a little crooked, I found that it's okay because I just put the crooked side in inside of the ice cream, right? So if it's not perfect, I'm okay with that. There we go. And can get it rolling. So this is great because now we only have to send it through one more time, and then the rest of the project is made using the punches. So I'm going to use the double heart punch pack, and that's part of the annual catalog. He's a little crooked, but that's okay. Maybe what we'll do is we'll stamp on the back of him. And then we will pull this guy up, and there's our cherry. Perfect. I feel like I always struggle with that cherry, so I'm glad that it's not, that it worked this time. And you can see right there, that's where our little straw is going to go. And we're just going to, I'm going to run this one through one more time to get that outline of our glass. And then what I will do is I'll go and I'll stamp this one again, just on the back side, especially since we already have the ink out and everything else. Totally makes sense. And let's just cut this down a little so we can make sure that it's completely on the plates. There we go. And we probably could have done it all at once if I had cut the paper a little bit smaller, but that's okay. We're going to do it twice. And here we go. So we will send this on through. Hopefully the camera's not shaking too much. And there we have it. So now we have all of our die cuts. All right, so now let's go ahead and set this off to the side. I don't think we're going to have any more die cuts today. Oh, you know what? We are going to have one. So let's go ahead and just do that right now. So the only other thing that we're going to do is we're going to actually make a basic border for our bottom. So we're going to cover up those staples. I'm not a huge fan of putting staples on my stamped projects. I don't know why. I see other people's projects and they look just fine, but for some reason it really bothers me. So I'm going to cover them up as much as possible. And how I'm going to do that is using the basic border dies, and I'm going to use the cloud kind of bubbly one here. So we will set that down, and we're going to trim it later, so I just need to get the edge in. And so it doesn't truly matter how big you leave it because we'll trim it down and make sure that it fits perfectly. So we'll just cut. And we will figure out the perfect measurements later, but that way we can set this off to the side and not have to worry about it. All right. Perfect. So now let's go ahead and stamp this guy again. And we will flip this over. almost think, sometimes I think it's easier to just stamp after you die cut, honestly. Because you already have everything you need kind of all set up. Like you know exactly where it needs to be, so you can have it. I feel like you line it up better than sometimes if you die cut it first. So now what we're going to do is we are going to connect these pieces. So we're going to stick our straw inside. So we want the nice side to be up, and we're going to put that in like this. Just like that. And we're going to make our dimensionals work extra hard, and we're going to put the first dimensional there. And I probably shouldn't have taken that off yet, but that's okay. And we are going to put our other dimensional here, and then one more right here. And then because it kind of slopes, because the Maltesers are spherical, we're actually going to put a glue dot here too, but we're going to do that at the very, very end. And I think, you know what, I'm going to do just one more up here and one more right here. I think everyone knows I probably overkill the dimensionals. And last but not least, we are also going to connect our little, oops, that's plus. We're going to connect our cherry here to the top. Go, and just kind of have him floating right there. And I think in the original I actually did that in red, but I liked it in Sweet Sorbet too. Let's pick this guy up a little and slide him under. He's kind of loose under there. Sure, let's just put another one on. There we go. So you definitely do not need this much dimensionals for such a tiny little piece, but that is okay for now. Okay, so our next step is going to be, we are going to cut or punch our hearts. So these are 2 scalloped punches, and we are just going to make them in red, and we are going to make one in white. So here's our red, and that is all we're doing for that one. And our next one is going to be in white. So I'm going to use the edge of this piece here, conserve paper, boop, and we're going to stamp on that one. So all right, so we are done now with our heart punch for now. The other option is you can do a really fun, like cute little paper, and I may change out the plain red for a fun paper. But let's go ahead and get to rolling on our actual little matchbook here. So our dimensions that we are going to be working with are, let's see, so you can get 2 of these little matchbooks out of one piece of 8.5 by 11 cardstock. So our first step is going to be, we're going to cut a 1/2 inch off. And the reason we're going to do that is because we only want the bottom to be 3, or we want it to be, let's see, 3.75. So we're going to cut out a 1/2 inch, and that will give us one consecutive longer piece that we may be able to use for a different project. I may have needed to push a little harder on that one, so we will just cut it by hand here. So when you are cutting your cardstock, you can push a little harder if you have multiple pieces. If you're cutting DSP, I would not recommend that because the DSP is a lot thinner than this cardstock. It's a different weight. And it will cut your DSP, and then it will have a big hole in it, especially if you're not anticipating cutting it all the way or something like that. So let's get these off of here. And then our next step is going to be, we're going to cut to 3.75. Go, and it looks good. And now we have 2 here. And let's make sure that our little Maltesers will fit. Yep, looks good. And then these we're actually going to cut off another 1/2 inch on this side, I think. Let's see. 3.75. I might have only taken off a 1/4 inch on the other side now that I'm thinking about it. Lined it up wrong on the... Hopefully you guys aren't screaming at me. Saying, no, you've done it wrong. So now we have 4 little pieces here. So each one piece of 8.5 by 11 cardstock will make 2 of these little matchbook treat covers. So we're going to leave it at 11. It's 3.75 this way. And now we are going to score at 0.75. Line it up here. And we're only going to use, again, the lighter color blade right here, which is just the scoring tool. And then we want it to be scored at 5.75. And this might be a little different than some of the other matchbook treat covers that you've made. And then 6.25. Oops, I need to get this guy out here. And the reason why is because they're spheres. Let's see, 6.25. It's right on that edge there. Because the Maltesers are spherical, we want to make sure that we give them enough space so that it actually will stay closed. If we don't put that little extra gap in there, I found that it didn't work quite as well. So this is perfect, I think, for it to create that little bit. So this is going to be the place where our Maltesers tuck in. And we're just going to kind of burnish those edges with our fingers. And we're going to take our stapler. Now this is not anything fancy, it's just a regular stapler. We're going to push our Maltesers up. And we're going to push this down. And then we are going to staple we want to staple. So you want to staple, I was thinking about how to do it. So you want to staple and you want to kind of be in the middle. So that way you have a little edge to tuck in. So we are going to staple kind of towards the bottom, maybe the bottom quarter, just like that. And first thing we're going to do, check to make sure it's attached. Sure is. And then we will make sure that it closes before we go any further. Boop, there we go. So it's perfect. So now we will get started on what that actual cover looks like. So now I'm using the leftover piece of this paper, which is in the Celebration brochure. It is free with a $100 purchase, and you get, I think it's 48 12 by 12 sheets. So it is a jumbo, huge stack of paper. And it has all sorts of beautiful designs. So this is the back of this one. Oh, it's blown out. And then we have this paper here. So this is like a really pretty kind of, not really a gingham, but like a plaid kind of pattern. And it does have a little bit of green, and I thought that was delightful. So that is what we are going to be using today. Now we are going to cut this to 3.5 by 4.5. So let's back this up a little. 3.5. And then by 4.5. Right there. And that is going to be our little cover piece. So these go really fast. If you're mass producing something like this, you can do all of the cutting in one stage and then go back and do the rest. So let's go ahead and get started. So we will flip our Maltesers out there, and that will give us enough space to be able to decorate this. So we are going to use Stampin' Seal. And like I said, we're going to use the plaid side facing up, so that way we can have that cute little texture. I really like the aquas and blues, light blues and reds together. I know a lot of people use that for Christmas, but I really like it for Valentine's Day and just in general. I don't use it so much at Christmas, but I do really love the combination. So we will do that. There we go. And then we are going to connect our little heart. So the other paper that you could use, we have this one, which is the back of, I think it's called Country Ginghams. We also have some hearts. Let me see if I can quickly find a piece that will work. I think that piece is going to be too small. Let's see. Here's some polka dots. Let's do polka dots. This is actually sweet sorbet, so that will match just perfect. And this is just the In Colors Designer Series paper. So we'll do some cute little polka dots. And the other side is gingham on the back too, so that's really cute. I do like that paper quite a lot. And this is cute because then it'll kind of give everybody, you know, just a slightly different Valentine. And we will that right here. And then for this one, we are actually going to stamp. So let's go ahead and get our stamps ready here. We are going to stamp Be My Valentine, and we are going to use our little hearts. We'll set that there, and wait, that says Celebrate, Be My Valentine. Here we go. And we will do this in Pool Party as well. Actually, you know what? We're going to do it in Balmy Blue. I remember now on my first draft, I didn't really like the Pool Party very much. I thought it was, for the glass, it looked fine, but for the words, I thought, it doesn't match as well as the Balmy Blue would. So I'm going to pull out the Balmy Blue, and we are going to stamp Be My Valentine right in the center. Go, so cute. And then we are going to do some hearts just around, right? So just kind of spreading them out. And they may not all fit, but we'll try to get as many on there as possible. And I'm going to try to redo that one there because I don't like that I didn't get the full strength. So let's try to line it up. Go. This one's these little hearts are actually pretty easy to line up again. So if you need to stamp it again, it's really okay. I think you don't have to get the Stamparatus out or anything like that. Sometimes I do encourage that, but not. I think this time you could probably do it. I haven't had any trouble with it, at least. So we'll go ahead and use some Stampin' Seal on this, and we're going to go ahead and connect that right here. And then we are going to connect our cutie little malted milkshake here that matches our Maltesers. And set that right there. And then, as I mentioned, we're going to put a glue dot right here on the bottom, because if you don't, then that's going to pop up. And I think after looking at it for a while, I decided that that glue dot just made it curve just enough that it looked a little bit better. So we will pull one of those off. I'm using the Take Your Pick tool. This is, I have a list of Stampin' Up! Supplies that I would recommend until I'm blue in the face. And the Take Your Pick tool is one of them. Same thing with glue dots. For a while I didn't ever use glue dots. And then someone had mentioned it to me and I was like, oh yeah, I don't know why I don't use those very often. So then I started and now I'm addicted. They're fantastic. I absolutely love them. And then next, this is going to be the most technical thing that we do today, which is we are literally just going to eyeball it. So I'm going to take my scissors, which are missing. Here we go. And I'm just going to cut this off. And I thought this kind of looked like, like bubbles in a glass. Kind of like the edge of that, right? So use the little bubbles. So I thought that was cute. And we are going to just make some little pencil marks based on where we think it should be. So I'm going to, oops, what am I doing? There we go. So I think probably something like this. So I'm going to just mark it here and here and then here. And then we will cut those away using our paper trimmer. And again, that's really the least technical way that you could possibly do it. I could totally measure this, and maybe I will, to tell you about how long I did mine. It's going to be probably about 3.75, I'm assuming. Let's do it over here. Well, let's cut it first and then measure so we don't get confused. Right, so there's that. Oh, and see, I'm gonna make a mistake. There we go. Now I'll be able to see it. Okay. And then, so sometimes I do measurements and sometimes I just wing it. I try to do measurements for the things that I, make for YouTube and that I make for classes and things. But sometimes my recommendation is just put it on the page and see if it looks good. And if it doesn't, it goes down a little. And if it doesn't, then kind of adjust, So maybe it needs to be a little bit longer because your cut wasn't as perfect on the top. And that's usually how, when I'm fun crafting, that's what I do. So we're just going to use this. We're going to cover it. Now, this doesn't really have a side, but what I will say is on one side, the stitching along the edge is a little bit more clear. So I'm going to use that side. And that looks pretty good. So let's see, it is, yeah, it's 3.75 in length, and then whatever you want your height to be. So mine is like about 1.5 inches, maybe a little more. And we will put some Stampin' Seal here. We're just going to go all the way across. I am going to put it on this and not on this because I don't want any to be sticking up. Let's do that. And then line it up and press. Just like that. And then you can seal it. And that actually helps keep it tucked in there at the bottom as well. And that is our cute little design. So we've got, so far I've made 3 of them, one for a class, one is like a prototype, and then one right now. And you can see I did add some little gems up there, so if you wanted to add some gems, I used the adhesive back Milky Dots. And I just used 3 of them, and I used 2 of the larger circles. And 1 of the littler circles. Just like that. And there we go. So that is it. But this is the Share a Milkshake stamp set. It's super fun. I have some more projects with this particular stamp set coming up. I've got some cute cards, but this one is one that I definitely wanted to share right away so that if you are in the process of making Valentine's Day gifts for your loved ones, you could easily replicate this and, you know, share some stamping goodness with them. So I hope that you enjoyed this, and I'll see you next time. Bye!